Since this is a men's interest channel, I thought covering the topic of getting a date would make for a good video, since there are men who need help in this area, and navigating male and female relationships in our modern world, it's definitely a lot more challenging than it was in years past. When deciding you want a date, there are a few possibilities, a few different things you could do. The first being if you have friends or a social circle, perhaps they know a single girl and they could pair you together. Maybe they see that you have similar interests and they think that you would be good for each other. There are pros and cons to this. The pro being that if you have mutual friends with a girl, it makes the meeting and interaction a bit smoother since you have a common connection already and you have a shared social circle. So you probably will know a bit about her beforehand, before you actually ask for the date or before the date actually happens. And if your friends paired you together, as I said, it's possible that they already saw some similar personality or common interest between you two. And then of course, like, the big con to this would be if you do end up in a relationship with this girl, you can expect the friends to be kind of intrusive, and you might not get the privacy that you want, because especially on the female's end, she's going to be sharing details of the relationship. And that goes for the fact also if things ever go bad and there's a conflict, and that could cause division among your mutual friends. The second option is if you have a woman that you see on a regular basis, like it could be in a class setting or at work or at the gym or at a bar you go to, or a coffee shop you may stop in on a regular basis. And the pros to this, like having these multiple interactions and opportunities, is it makes it a little bit easier to get the girl to warm up to you. Like you can make some friendly small talk to get to know her a bit before asking her out. The con of this is mixing your romantic life with places like work, which I would probably recommend against as far as work goes. Because again, if things develop and go bad, it could make it awkward for you to show up at this place that you go to on a regular basis. And I would say with this though, if you see a girl that you like, at one of your familiar hangouts or places you go to on a regular basis, don't wait too long to ask her out if you have a genuine interest. And waiting too long would be like months, a year, 2 years. I would say like ask her out within a couple of weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks at most, after having some small talk and social interaction with her. And you should also know at this point, if she is worth asking out. I would think it'd only take you a couple weeks to do this. And if you don't show courage and ask her out, and you wait and wait and wait, don't be surprised if she goes ahead and puts you in the friend zone, because she sees you're not making a move, even though you're showing interest. That's going to display cowardice, and she's probably just going to move on and, like I said, put you in the friend zone. You'll probably end up no more as a good acquaintance at most. The third option to go with is a cold approach. And this is when you see a woman out in a public setting that you find attractive, and you directly approach her with the intention of getting her number and asking her out on a date. And a cold approach is done because it may be a woman you may never see again. And this has the highest risk of failure due to the fact there are so many unknowns about it. You have no background information on the woman, no idea of her political or religious views or her background. You are basing your approach off raw physical attraction, basically. And I will say that it is wise to do this only when the woman is showing some kind of sign that she's interested in you, which could be like an extended stare, smiling at you while making eye contact, or she even will come up to you herself and make some small talk. And this communicates she is interested in getting to know you. And in that situation, you should go ahead and approach her and try to get a phone number or try to get a date. But if she's showing no interest and you just walk up to her, I mean, she could easily shut you down by saying she has a boyfriend or a husband, or she may just be direct and say you're not her type and she's not interested. As I said, cold approach can work, but it does have a high failure rate, so don't be surprised or upset when you get rejected. The fourth option I will cover is online dating. And this is going to be the most practical and most sure way to get a date in our day and age. And it will also allow you to look for any kind of red flags, and you can weed out many women who would be bad choices for you. And back in the day when Joe Weider and Bob Hoffman were publishing relationship advice either in their bodybuilding magazines or books they published, the option of online dating did not exist. But it really is the most convenient way to arrange a date and get some practice in socially interacting with females. And with online dating, you have a couple choices. There are pay sites you could pay to become a member of, and then there are free dating sites, like Plenty of Fish is a popular one. And if you go with a pay site, expect the women on there to be more demanding, because if they're paying, that means they are taking it very seriously, and they will be likely more discriminating of you on your looks, your income, your job, your habits, your interests. I would actually probably expect a higher rejection rate on a pay site, because these women who are paying have really high and often unrealistic expectations and standards. I suggest starting out with the free dating apps or the free dating sites, as you can find good girls on there. You have to weed through a lot of bad ones, but there are good women on there. And anyway, this is just fine for kind of getting your feet wet in the dating world, and you could get some good experience from it. So you're not having to invest any money. It's totally free. What you want to do, put some good pics on your profile, and I would say about 5 or 6 pictures should be enough. And some of these should highlight you doing things you enjoy, like kayaking, hiking, the gym. Write out a brief summary about yourself and interest, and stay upbeat and positive on your profile. Don't write about how your parents died in a house fire, or how you are sad that women never give you attention, and because a guy like being negative and throwing a pity party for himself, it's not going to work. It's just going to kill attraction with women. Message a few girls you like on there, and then like in your message, just briefly introduce yourself, and you can ask about them or a similar interest you both share that you might see on their profile. And I will say, yes, express interest, but don't go overboard with it and come off like you're desperate and thirsty for attention. And also, don't be surprised if you don't get responses right away. It could be the fact that she just isn't interested in you, or it could be she gets thousands of messages on there from beta orbiters, and yours is just lost in the shuffle. Because I talked to women about this before, and they literally will get thousands of messages on online dating sites, and these are they could just be average looking women, and that just goes to show like the imbalance, as far as supply and demand goes with men and women, in the sexual marketplace. And like I said, don't take rejection personally. Just try another few girls next time. I would probably, maybe put 30 minutes to an hour a day at it, no more than that. And each time just message a few more girls. And the other thing is, if you do get messages from women, they will often be very undesirable women, unattractive, obese, or you'll have the single moms with a litter of kids by different fathers. And always avoid these women. You're just wasting your time, and it's really not worth the investment or effort. You can kindly respond to these women that you are not interested, or you can just ignore the message. And don't feel bad about ignoring messages, because girls ignore messages from guys all the time. And once you do find a girl who you like and share interest with, and she's actually responding to your messages, as I said, you have to move it forward. Exchange a few messages, but don't keep it going on for weeks and weeks and weeks without asking for a date. After a few messages, ask for a date. Set a certain time and place, and then while you do this, you can offer your cell number as well, because the goal is to move the woman off online dating and into the real world, into like face-to-face contact with you. So if you ask her out and she declines your offer, say because she has a class to go to that night, or she has a party, or a bridal shower, whatever it may be. If she declines your offer, wait a bit and try her a second time. Give it a couple days, maybe a week, and try her again. And again, give her a certain time and place. And this will show her that you have, by setting the certain time and place, it shows her that you have guts and you are willing to take the lead. And it is very masculine to do this. And if she declines your offer for a second time, politely tell her that's okay, and to get in touch with you when her schedule is more freed up. And from this point on, cut all contact with her, because the ball is in her court, and then just start pursuing your other options, because you don't want to waste time on women who are just messaging you but refuse to meet in person. Your time is too valuable to waste. So really, it is a numbers game. The more lines you have in the water, the more bites you're going to get. And as I said, don't take rejection personally. You shouldn't hold her opinion that high anyway, because women make terrible choices all the time. That's why they need a man to guide them, because without men to guide them, they're just wrecks. And for every woman not interested in you, there are going to be women out there who are. So once you declined, as I said, move on. And don't waste any valuable time on flaky women. And I'm going to wrap this up by listing a few key tips that I think will lead you to be more successful with dating. And I think even if you aren't interested in marriage as a guy, it is still good to get out of the house and get some social interaction with the opposite sex. And the more dates you have, the better success you are going to have with women if you do decide to enter into a serious relationship. And also the higher quality of women you will attract, because a man's confidence with women really pays off. And I know in my own experience, I think men in their 30s are generally more successful with women than they were in their early 20s. It's just because you have a lot more experience under your belt and you stop making the stupid mistakes. In my first tip, I'm going to say that if you're interested in a girl, be bold and courageous, move forward and make a move. And talking to a girl is key to being successful in this area. And if you are young or lack social skills and aren't ready for like a date yet, you can even start by just making small talk with women you see out in public. And this gets you more experience and builds that confidence. And that could be just a simple smile, a hello, and, how are you doing today? And that could break the ice and lead to other places. You just never know. My second tip is do not invest too much in a first date. I suggest a coffee or dessert date, or, going to grab a drink during the evening. And evening dates are always best. And, you can relax and get to know the person and talk to them. And plus, if the date is a bust, you aren't out a lot of money. And keep in mind that, just keep it in your mind that she has to earn the second date. You should view yourself as the prize. And, she should, if she wants you to invest more, then she should be giving you something back, some feedback, some positive feedback. Because if she's like a cold fish, she's rude, she's boring, she's annoying, she's just obnoxious, or just a degenerate person, just cut her off. And then that way you aren't aren't out of a lot of money, and you've learned valuable lessons about female interaction and spotting red flags that you want to avoid in women. And my third tip is that if the date goes well, don't gush over it, about how great she is. Don't overly praise her. You want to convey that you had a nice time and that you're interested. And then I would wait at least 2 or 3 days, maybe a week, to set you want to set up a second date for maybe a week after the first. Give it some time. Don't be chasing so hard that you're trying to ask her out every single night of the week. Because if you knocked it out of the park on the first date and made a good impression, she's going to accept a second offer, but you don't want to be pushy with it either. You have to leave her kind of wanting more. So that's why you shouldn't offer too much of your time. And it's also kind of a good idea, even if the date is going well, the first date is going well, to cut it short. Say that you have work tomorrow, or you have a few other things you have to do before work tomorrow, and excuse yourself. And this way, it kind of builds that tension and it leaves her wanting more. So she's, more eager to accept that second date. And then, if you get rejected, like I said, this is my fourth tip: always handle it like a pro. Stay cool, calm, and collected. Maintain your masculine energy. And if you get turned down for a date, don't get angry, don't pout, don't be passive aggressive, because these are all overly emotional feminine responses rather than a cool, level-headed masculine logic, which is what you want to always maintain. Like when you get rejected, simply tell her that's okay. And if she changes her mind about the date, to contact you if her schedule clears, and that's it. Like I said, the ball's in her court. Move on and talk to other women you're interested in. There are plenty more out there. And I've actually turned a rejection into a yes before, because sometimes a woman rejecting you isn't necessarily out of disinterest. It's because she's actually putting you through a shit test, which women love to do, to find out how you would handle it. And there was a girl I was talking to, and she was a really pretty blonde girl. She was about my height. She was around 5'9", 5'10". So she was typically taller than a girl I would usually date. But like we were talking, and she said that ultimately she wouldn't be interested in going out with me because her ideal guy was over 6'2". And I told her that was perfectly fine. Everyone has their own type, and I told her that she was 29 years old, and I said that was too old for me because I typically date women younger than that. And I think that really rattled her, because the next day, after I thought we had parted ways, she was sending me messages again indicating interest, and I did end up going out with her a few more times. So it goes to show women have very fragile egos, and men shouldn't fear them or getting rejected. If you do, you're placing their opinion in too high of regard. And to wrap this video up, my final tip, again, less is more. Oftentimes, the less you care, the better you do. Don't overly praise women. Don't do grand gestures. Keep yourself and your goals as the main focus, and women will be more attracted to you. Stay cool, collective, positive, and in charge of your emotions. Be a master of your emotions. And don't ever get dragged into arguments with women, especially on the level when you're just dating. Just simply send her on her way. And that shows strength that that you could either send her away or walk away from it. And that maintains your high attractive level, because, as I said, you always want to keep it in your mind that you are high value, and to maintain that high value, you can't break. You have to maintain that masculine frame. Anyway, that's the video. I know it ran a little long, but I hope it helps some of you guys out. And if you enjoy my content and videos, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much.